Hey everybody, going to go through how to do each of these problems from the worksheet that you guys had for homework. All right. So when we are trying to figure out, and these are what we call definite integrals because they have lower and upper bounds. All right. So what we're going to do first all the time is you just do regular integration. So basic power rule, x cubed over 3. We add 1 to the exponent, put that on the bottom, minus x. All right. Now you're going to plug in 3 and 0. So the first thing, we always plug in the larger number first. That's on top. That goes in all the x's in each term. So 3 cubed is 27. So we have 27 over 3 minus 3. Now we go minus, we plug in the bottom number 0. Well, nice and easy here. When you plug in 0 minus 0 is just 0. So the answer for this one is 27 over 3 is 9. 9 minus 3. And the answer is 6. All right, that one's done. All right, on to the second one. All right, now before we go and integrate this, let's FOIL this out. Let's multiply x squared minus 2 times x squared minus 2, which would then give us the integral of x to the 4th. Multiply these and double them, which is minus 4x squared. And then square 2, which is 4. All right. Now we want to integrate this. So this is x to the 5th over 5 minus 4x cubed over 3 plus 4x. And we're going to plug in 1 first, and then we're going to plug in negative 1. All right. So when I plug in 1, I get 1/5 minus 4/3 plus 4 minus, now we're going to put in negative 1. So it's going to be negative 1/5 minus a negative 4/3, which I'm going to make this into a plus 4/3, and then a negative 4. All right. Now this negative here is going to change. We have to distribute this negative to here, to there, to there. So 1/5 and negative 1/5 is really 2/5 because we change that to a positive. This positive is going to go into negative, which is negative 8/3. It's an awful 8, but there we go. Negative 8/3. And then 4 plus 4 is 8. All right, so then we do 2/5 minus 8/3 plus 8. Let's make a common denominator of 15. So that's going to be 3 times 6. 15 5 is 40. All right. And how many 15ths is 8? 15 times 8 is 120. So you do negative 40 and 120 is 80. 80 plus 6 is 86. So you get 86 over 15. All right. And there's your answer for number 2. 86 over 15. All right. Number 3. All right. Before we do this, let's change this to x to the 1/5. All right. That's x to the 1/5. So now we do our power rule. We add 1 to 1/5, and we get 6/5. But we take the reciprocal. You can't put 6/5 here. So the 5 stays on top, and the 6 goes on the bottom. And we're going to plug in 1. We're going to plug in 0. All right. So 1 to any power, plug the 1 in here, right? 1 to any power is 1. So we get 5 over 6, which is 5/6, minus 0. So the answer is just 5/6. All right. So now for this one, first thing we want to do is we want to split this up. Let's do x squared over x to the 4th, which is 1 over x squared, which is just going to become x to the negative 2nd. Then when I do this one, x over x to the fourth is 1 over x cubed, which is x to the negative third. All right, so that's where we're going to integrate first. All right, so we add 1 to negative 2, we get negative 1 over negative 1, all right, plus x to the negative second over negative 2, which really just equals negative 1 over x minus 1 over 2x squared. And we're going to plug in 2, and we're going to plug in 1. All right. So now we plug in 2 to both of my x's first. So I get negative 1/2 minus 2 squared is 4. 4 times 2 is 8, minus 1/8, minus negative 1 over 1, which is negative 1. 1 squared is 1. 1 times 2 is 2, minus 1/2. All right. So I distribute this negative, so that becomes a positive. This becomes a positive, all right? And we get negative 1/2 plus 1/2, so those are gone. And I get negative 1/8 plus 1/8, which is 7/8. So 7/8 is my answer. All right. All right, for E, integrate negative cosecant cotangent. So if I was doing all my integrals, all my derivatives, the derivative of what trig function gives me negative cosecant x cotangent x? And that answer is negative cosecant x. All right. So we have negative cosecant x from pi over 2 to pi over 6. Oops. I'm sorry. This should be positive. It's positive cosecant x because the derivative of cosecant is negative cosecant. All right. Apologize. This should be positive. All right. So now I'm going to plug in. So I need to figure out what the cosecant of pi over 2 is. All right. Minus whatever the cosecant of pi over 6 is. All right. So now cosecant, all right, we need to remember is cosecant x is 1 over sine, right? And sine is y. So what we need to do is we need to figure out the y coordinates for these and take the reciprocal of them. All right, we need to take the reciprocal of them. All right, so pi over 2. Pi over 2 is located up here, which is at 0, 1. So I take 1, all right, sine is 1, that's what y is. 1 over 1 is just 1. Pi over 6. All pi over 6's have a coordinate that is 3 root 2 over 2, 1/2. Well, we are looking at the sine, the y. The reciprocal of that is 2. All right, so 1 minus 2, negative 1. And there's our answer, negative 1. All right, so you need to remember a little bit of your unit circle stuff for that one. All right. Now, when we come to a absolute value, all right, as soon as you see an absolute value, hopefully remember, just like when you solve an absolute value equation, you need 2 equations. We need an absolute value integral. You need 2 integrals. All right, so we need an integral here plus an integral there. Now, to get the bounds on them, this lower one here goes here. The upper one here goes at the top of the second. All right, bottom goes to the bottom of the first, upper goes to the top of the second. To get what goes here, which these will be the same, you set 2x minus 2 equal to 0, whatever's inside the absolute value. And you get 2x equals 2, x equals 1, which means you put a 1 here and a 1 here. Now, one of these you're going to keep exactly the same. So after one of these integrals, you're going to have 2x minus 2. The other one is going to be the opposite of that, which is going to be negative 2x plus 2. Plug numbers in. All right, I'm going to just pick this one here. I'll put something between 1 and 4. You plug it into here. If it's positive, it stays the same. If it's negative, you take the opposite. So if I plug in 2, 4 times 2 is 4. 4 minus 2 is positive 2. So since this is positive, I keep the 2x minus 2 here. Now, I'm assuming this one's probably going to be the negative one, but I'll check. say a half. Half of 2 is 1. 1 minus 2 is a negative 1. It is negative. So that becomes negative 2x plus 2. All right. So now what we're going to do is we are going to integrate each of these. So it's like 2 separate problems. It's what we've done all over here, except we just do it twice. So it's negative 2x squared over 2 plus 2x. And I'm going to plug in a 1 and a 0. All right, we'll do that in a second. Plus positive 2x squared over 2 minus 2x. And we're going to plug in a 4 and a 1. All right. Notice that these, it just becomes negative x squared. That's just going to be positive x squared. All right. So when I plug in 1, I square 1 as 1, but there's a negative outside. So that's a negative 1. 1 times 2 is 2 plus 2 minus 0. So I don't have to worry about that. There's just 0. Plus, was that a 4? 4 squared is 16 minus 8. Minus, now I got to plug in 1. 1 minus 2. All right. So negative 1 plus 2 is 1. Plus 16 is 17. Minus 8 is 9. All right. Minus 1 is 8. Plus 2 is 10. All right. So this went down there. I make sure I distribute the negative. That's why it was negative 1 plus 2. Just add all those all together. All right, the positive were 2 and 16 was 18. 18 plus 2, which was 10. Minus 8, which is 12. Minus 1, which is 11. Minus another 1, 10. And 10 is your answer. All right. So that finishes those. So now we just have to worry about average value. All right, to do average value, you do exactly what we just did up top. But at the end, when you have average value, all right, you multiply your answer by 1 over b minus a. All right, where you start your interval is a, where you finish it is b. All right, so we're doing the integral from 1 to 4 of the square root of x. All right, and we'll worry about the 1 over b minus a at the end. So this is really x to the 1/2, right? So when I integrate, I get x to the 3/2. Do my reciprocal, so it's 2 and 3. I plug in 4, and I plug in 1. All right. Now, what is 4 to the 3/2? That means the square root, well, I don't have to write the square, but I'll do it. The square root of 4, whatever that answer is, cubed. So the square root of 4 is 2. 2 cubed is 8. 8 times 2, 16. All right. Over 3. All right. So square root of 4 is 2. 2 cubed is 8. So this right here is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. So we get 16 thirds. Minus 1 times 2 is 2, which is 2 thirds. So that is 14 thirds. So if we were done with, if this was our only problem, this would be the answer. But we're finding the average value of it. So I have to multiply 1 over b minus a. 4 minus 1 is 3. So we're going to multiply by 1/3. So multiply the top and bottom, and I get 14 ninths. And there's your answer, 14 ninths. All right. Last one. All right, find the average value again. So this is our b, that's our a. So 1 over 3 minus a negative 2 is 1 over 5. So that's what we're going to multiply by at the end. But before we do that, we're going to take the integral of x cubed minus 2x plus 1 from negative 2 to 3. So you get x to the 4th over 4 minus 2x squared over 2 plus x. And we're going to plug in 3 and negative 2. All right. So these twos cancel, it's just negative x squared. All right. So 3 to the 4th is 81. So we got 81 over 4 minus 3 squared, which is 9, plus 3, minus, now plug in -2. -2 to the 4th is 16. 16 over 4 is 4. -2 squared is 4, but then it's a minus up front, so that's -4. Those are going to cancel. -2. All right, so those cancel. Those become +2. 3 plus 2 is 5. -9 plus 5 is 4. So it is 81 over 4 minus 4, which is 81 over 4 minus 16 over 4. And 81 minus, what is that? 81 minus 16, 80. Oh my goodness, why can't I do math? 65, sorry. 65 over 4. And now we just take that answer and multiply it there times 1/5. And we get 65 over 20, which really is the same thing as what is that? 65. How many times does 65 go into 5? 15 is 55. 13. 13 over 4. And that is your answer. All right. So we do the average value. The only thing that is different in average value compared to all these other ones is that at the end, you multiply by 1 over b minus a. All right. If you have any questions, just let me know. I think what I'm going to end up doing is the next time for your next assignment, you guys will have like a graded classwork assignment. I'm actually going to let you work with one other person. So if you want to FaceTime them to work on it, if you want to group chat on it, text it, whatever, but 2 people's names will be submitted. If you want, you can do it by yourself, but if you want to work with somebody else, you can. And we'll do a quick little grade assignment of that before we move on to the next section, I should say. All right. Hope all is good. Stay safe out there, and talk to you guys soon.